Hello boys and girls of grade 6. I am teacher Melinda Hughes, and today I am delighted to do social studies with you. Our topic for today is weather and climate. And so for this lesson, you will be learning about weather and climate. Of course, you will also learn about the difference between weather and climate. You will also be able to identify the seasons that result because of weather and climate. Of course, you will also learn about the weather instruments that the person or the meteorologist who reads and studies the weather pattern, you will learn about those instruments that a meteorologist uses. So let's begin. Weather and climate. Weather. What is weather? Weather is the short-term state of the atmosphere. Weather can vary from time to time or from location to location. Weather always includes time and location. So what is it about climate? Climate is the long-term pattern of weather. Long-term simply means 30 years or more. Average weather over many years in one specific place refers to climate. So there we have it, boys and girls. Weather is the short-term state of the atmosphere, while climate is the long-term pattern of weather. Seasons. A weather pattern occurs when the weather stays the same for days or weeks at a time. The pattern of weather are tied to the 4 seasons. So what are the 4 seasons? We have summer, winter, spring, and autumn, also referred to as fall. There are a few different weather patterns that you may have already learned about, such as hot and dry, wet and rainy, or cold. These weather patterns are associated with the 4 seasons that I mentioned before. What are the seasons? Summer. And what weather pattern is associated with summer? Hot and dry. We also have winter. What weather pattern is associated with winter? Cold and wet. Of course, these seasons are not experienced in the tropics. So all we experience in the tropics are weather patterns. Now, how do we know what pattern the weather will be for a particular day or week, which is a short period? That information is provided by a meteorologist. Who is a meteorologist? A meteorologist is a person who studies the weather. He or she works at the meteorological station. In the picture, we have an example or someone who is a senior meteorologist. He is Mr. Lyndon Alves. Now, how does Mr. Lyndon Alves give information about the weather? He uses certain instruments. But before we do, let's listen to a weather report. So boys and girls, from that report, you would have noticed several weather patterns that were shown for various parts of Guyana. We had the weather for Mabaruma, for Anna Regina, Georgetown, New Amsterdam, and Linden. Of course, boys and girls, in order for the meteorologist to predict or to tell the weather, there are certain instruments that guide how the weather report or weather forecast is done. So we have the wind vane. The wind vane simply shows the direction of the wind. Next, we have the windsock. Windsock also shows the direction of the wind. Then we have The anemometer. The anemometer shows wind speed. Rain gauge. This is used to measure the amount of rainfall. Then we have the barometer. The barometer is used to measure atmospheric pressure. Next we have the hygrometer. The hygrometer is used to measure the humidity or amount of water vapor in the air. There is also the Campbell-Stokes recorder. That is used to measure the intensity of the sunshine. In addition to those instruments, there is also the thermometer. The thermometer is used to measure the temperature. So these instruments are very important for the meteorologist, for without them, he or she will be unable to give accurate information about the weather. By using those instruments, various weather patterns are determined. So we have partly cloudy, cloudy or sunny. We have windy or rainy, stormy or snowy. Of course, in Guyana, we do not experience snow, but meteorologists do not only operate in Guyana, but they work across the globe. And since there are seasons that go along with these weather patterns, then there will be a snowy weather pattern. Of course, the temperature of the day is derived from using the thermometer. Boys and girls, even though we do not experience the seasons in Guyana, it is good for you to know the type of clothing that persons who live in countries where the seasons are experienced wear. So people are required to wear different clothing for different seasons. In the summer, there are special pieces of clothing that are worn. Mostly cotton shirts or vests or jeans or jumpers. There is a lot of slipper wearing, straw hats, sunshades, and so forth in order to enjoy the splash of the summer. In autumn, the clothing changes. The raincoat is used, scarves, tops, boots, jumpers or jackets, cardigans. Those are some of the clothing that persons who live in countries where autumn is experienced wear during that season. Next, we have winter. Winter is that season where it gets extremely cold, as they say, very icy. And so during the winter season, clothing like fleece jacket, jeans, gloves for the hands, sweaters, scarves, tops, boots, and so forth. Those are the type of clothing that persons who live in countries where winter is experienced wear. Then finally, we have spring. When spring comes around, there is also a special type of clothing that persons wear who live in those countries. So what are some of the clothing? They wear dresses made of cotton, jackets, scarves, tights, jerseys, trousers, so that individuals can be comfortable. So based on the type of season, the clothing is worn so that persons can be comfortable. Of course, climate has an effect on the environment. We have been experiencing the effects of climate change. There are many factors that will be affected because of climate change. 1, rising sea levels. So in the picture there, we notice a village is underwater because there is a rise in sea levels due to climate change. On the other hand, we have drought. Drought means there is a shortage of water, and it affects agriculture, it affects animals, it affects life. For drought brings loss of water and death, which result because there is a shortage and animals and also trees suffer from lack of water. There is also loss of agricultural land as a result of climate change. Changes in weather will affect many crops grown around the world. Crops such as wheat and rice grow well in high temperatures, while plants such as maize and sugarcane grow in cooler climates. Changes in the climate will change the weather patterns and will bring more rain in some countries, but others will have less rain. Generally, dry areas will become drier and wet areas will become wetter. As a result, there will be floods or drought, which affects life, both plant and animals. The effect on people will depend on how well we can adapt to the changes and how much we can do to reduce climate change in the world. How can this be done? There is need for focus on environmental friendliness. So boys and girls, this has brought us to the end of our lesson on weather and climate. I encourage you to stay safe, and I'll see you next time around. Goodbye, boys and girls.